So what did you think of the movie? Did you have fun? I think we have some fans of multiculturalism here. What is the message of this movie?
We never set out to do any particular message. We just thought that with such an age-old conflict, it's about time we found some humour and comedy out of it. And so we felt that if there is a message, it's, you don't want to sound too wishy-washy about it, but there is one God, we're all one, and let's just enjoy ourselves. That's kind of the idea. I thought we were American. Thank you. We're all one. Come on. I think that's the idea. The idea is, can you, wherever there's a sensitivity in society, I think before we find the resolutions, it's always a healthy and mature thing to find the humour first. So that's what this film is, a precursor to any. It's not raising questions. It's not giving any answers. It's just saying, let's find the humour first and let other people find the solutions. But that's the main message of the movie.
One of the little messages of the film is that here are these two guys who are not very evolved on the evolutionary scale as humans, but they and so they've kind of embraced these prejudices just out of ignorance, and yet here they find themselves in the end, or actually in the middle, as being kind of very important friends to each other, and it helps them to each of them to evolve past their previous kind of ignorant states because of their relationship with each other.
I said this in New York, and I'll say it again because I think it's very interesting. A lot of people think, would this film have worked if it was just after 9/11? And I like to think maybe it would have, but there is that old rule, as Woody Allen says, comedy is tragedy plus time. And I'd like to point out, Woody Allen also said, I know I raised you as my daughter, but would you accept it? So I don't take anything he says too seriously.
I found the movie not only funny and entertaining, but giving some very strong messages. Number one, that really Muslims and Jews come from practically the same kind of background. We're both very argumentative. We both take our religion way too seriously when it comes to all the rituals and things of that sort. But when it comes down to it, our problem is that we are identical twins that were separated at birth. We're really the same kind of people.
Like two pushy twins.
Yeah, and it was hilarious. Now the serious side about it, I thought what was really good is that extremism always hides behind a lie. And when you think of any extremist, there is some lie that if you just expose it, that extremism dissipates. And so you have a common person that was able to expose the extremist, the lie of that extremist who had such grandeur. But a little homework, a little insight, and you're able to make that extremism just evaporate.
One of the images that I thought of the movie was when he is at home and he's got the Quran and the Torah next to each other and he's reading them at the same time, comparing them. I think people should do that a lot more often. That was a good idea.
Yeah, we felt that was an important image. We spent a lot of time on that shot, actually. We had long discussions. Do you want the hands or not the hands? Is it powerful just to have that? And we felt it was important for you've got God and then you've got the human hands there as well. The connection between man, manifestations of God and humanity. That seems to be some kind of a structure of the universe. You have an unknowable essence. You have Jesus, Muhammad. You have Moses there, and then you've got the human hand. There seems to be this connection. We felt that was a very important image.
So the common humanity is something that's important, regardless of trying to research what's in common with the Quran and the Torah and the Gospel and things like that. And really, religion without justice is irrelevant and becomes an exploitation. I mean, that's the purpose of religion, is to tell people, be humble, you have one creator, therefore your job is to spread justice on this earth. And when we don't do that, then religion becomes an opium of the masses, really, as was stated. So that understanding of the common humanity, I thought, was illustrated beautifully in the film, and I think that's what we have to remember as people of whatever faith we belong to.
I think that's a really okay to make one last point. I think that's a wonderful point. And comedy-wise, we felt that the way to do what you're doing is to really find the humour from the similarities rather than focus too much on the differences. But did you hear about the UN representative, the Palestinian UN representative? Gave a fantastic speech. This happened last year. You must have heard about this. Where at the UN, the Palestinian representative got up and said, he goes, "What's your speech?" He goes, "Before I give a speech, I'd just like to tell you a quick story about Moses in the land of Palestine many, many years ago. He stopped by a rock, and he touched the rock, and the rock had all this water gushed out. So Moses took off his clothes and a little bit of a swim. And while he was swimming, a thieving Israeli Jew took his clothes and ran away." At which point the Israeli delegate got up and said, "I'd like to object. At that time, there were no Israelis, there were no Jews, it was just Palestine." And the Palestinian guy goes, "With that fact established, I'd now like to start my lecture." The only backlash that we received in England when the movie was released in April was some of the reviews felt that, this was always written as a comedy, but I think people got too involved in the story and they expected a huge ending with big resolves about the Jewish and Muslim conflict. And we specifically steered around that and made it more of a personal story and more of a...
We could have easily solved it if we wanted to. It's not a better movie.
I want to make a sequel. Say it's solved yet.
The sequel is, I am an Iranian and I realized I was born a Nigerian. But that was the only backlash that there was. Critically, they felt the film set something up and disappointed. And a lot of the reviews said that it's a comedy and it was just a perfect ending. And that was the duality. That some people got very involved with the story.
Yes, I don't know how many Q&As you went to. I think you went to a few in England. I was over there for the opening, which was a blast at the London, which is the Hammersmith, the Apollo Hammersmith. It was 3,500 people and a bunch of stand-ups, including you. Did routines in the beginning, which was kind of fun for me to be around. But then we went to Q&As around the city, and there wasn't a group necessarily, but there was always one person in the audience, maybe two, that found a way to be thoroughly and seriously offended. And it would alter, it would change from one group to the other, depending on who they were. It might have been a Muslim who was offended by the depiction of Muslims, and it might have been a Jew on another night who was offended. And it's interesting to me because I always find that people, there are certain people who have radar looking for reasons to get angry, looking for evidence that they're right about their prejudices. And they showed up at a couple of Q&As in London and one in New York, and I just found it fascinating because they were determined. You could see them waiting to ask their question because they were determined from the time they sat down to find many reasons to hate a little bit more when the movie was done.
There was one Q&A I went to at a synagogue, and we had an old Jewish person in the back, and just then he said, he goes, I've got to try and do his voice. He goes, "I want to say that the punching of the rabbi was something we could have found very offensive, and the fact that he was South African was fine by me." The film has been sold to the Middle East as actually Iran has bought it as well. It hasn't passed the certificate yet. I think the words beardy, weirdy fuckers who make shit at the moment is a bit of an issue. But this is balanced by the fact that Israel has not bought the movie either. And the simple fact that my character didn't stay a Jew. They wanted him to become a Jew. It was, there's a choice, he should be a Jew. So that's the two areas in the world there's a bit of problems.
Yeah, I don't think it will be allowed, or whatever term you want to use in the Middle East. But I think Muslim and Jewish diaspora throughout the world will find this movie very entertaining, and I think it will do well in the United States, Europe, and other parts of the world.
Time for one more question, Matt.
Quick question. Thank you guys very, very much. I'm going to make the assumption when you're screening this film for people, you're screening it for Middle Easterners or for Jews or for Israelis. Have you gotten the two of them together, or the three or the four, or whatever it is, together to watch it and kind of get that sort of response?
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, this film is for the public, and it's gone 62 countries, and it's did very well at the British box office. We did do one screening to the Muju organisation, for Muslims and Jews.
This is a real organization.
It's a real organisation. They're called Mujus. And
That's an organization I want to join just because of that.
Salam, why don't we close down our two organizations and just merge them?
It's called a Muju. And we had about 300 Muslims showed up and 150 Jews were there. So packed was 450. And to this day, I think that was the best screening we had. There was, I mean, piss again coming from the back. It really was. They got every single nuance, and there's lots of little bits of subtleties in there. A lot of people miss, but they got the pockets of laughter there, pockets of laughter there. There was a line. You don't have to learn every hadith by heart, because I don't even know Humpty Dumpty by heart. Massive laugh there. Then little Jewish things, oi, the whole thing, oi, and now we move on to gay. As the Jews were going crazy. So that, I have to say, was the best response. And we had, in the Q&A, there were a couple of women who were there, who apparently said that they had joined an extremist group, and they were reluctantly brought here, and now they're thinking of relinquishing ties with that extremist group. Just
You converted them.
We did. Sometimes.
And let's thank our guests, please.